Florida. Next, we'll call on my dear friend, Mr. Kildee from Michigan. Sir, you are now recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and to you and the ranking member for holding this really important hearing. Mr. Chairman, you said something at the outset of the hearing that I think was precisely on point. This hearing would be well-informed if we had our district staff sitting at this table testifying, because they have had to become quite expert in these matters. I've talked to my district director, I can't tell you how many times. And I still remember the first time when I was questioning him about a case that had come to my attention where there was an initial denial of a disability application. And he told me, and this is something Mr. Higgins referenced, he told me, well, everybody gets denied at the first step. Now, that sounds kind of glib. And like, oh, that's just step one is your denial. That's completely unacceptable. And I think we all agree with that. That's completely unacceptable. Because the folks, and Mr. Camp, you made this point with the case you raised, these are not cases to be processed. These are individual human beings who are going through the worst experience in their lives and have paid into a system that denies them without really any substantive review, and then puts them through a process that makes it really difficult for them to get something that is due to them, that is a promise that we made to them. Now, where I think we may find some disagreement is how we fix the problem. The one thing I will acknowledge is that simply providing more money without using those resources to make the system work better doesn't solve the problem. But there's another thing I know absolutely. Punishing the Social Security Administration with deep cuts because we're unhappy with customer service only exacerbates the problem. It doesn't solve the problem, it exacerbates the problem. In either case, we've got to do a better job. And to the issue of technology that you raised, I don't think that we're going to get significant technological improvements through donations. We're going to have to acquire, and that's going to mean spending some money. So I could repeat a lot of the arguments that have been made, but I do have a particular issue that is tangentially related to this that has become a bit of a cause for me. And it's a small matter, but it's a big question for individuals that I represent. It has to do with a case that came to my attention. An individual in a nursing home who is dependent on supplemental income and also quite dependent on the personal needs allowance. And Ms. Burdick, I wonder, just based on your experience, if you could help us understand how the fact that what was once a $30 allowance is still a $30 allowance going back to 1987, which is worth about $12 right now for people who are living on very modest means and want to buy a birthday card for their grandchildren or replace a sweater because the one they've got is worn out. We got to do something about this. Congress needs to act to do something about it. I wonder if you just might comment on what it's like for a person who is living on such modest means to have such little support for the basic elements of a decent life.
Thank you for the question, Congressman. I mean, personal needs allowances, as you said, have not been updated for decades. They're supposed to give people who are living on benefits in institutions the money they need for personal items, toiletries, birthday cards, as you mentioned. $30 just doesn't cut it anymore. I think we all know that. I think I saw in the train station today, deodorant is $5. It isn't enough, and it needs to be updated. People really are struggling to get just the bare essentials.
I appreciate that. I don't know if any of the other panelists would like to comment. I would ask, Ms. Davis, what the effect of a dramatic cut would be on the reform efforts that you are initiating right now in terms of the disability process.
So as I mentioned earlier, it would be devastating. We made tremendous progress. I know it probably doesn't feel like it or sound like it, but we did 90,000 more initial claims in FY23 than we did in FY22. And, one thing that I think we all need to be cognizant is the impact that the pandemic had on the agency. It disturbed our normal operational flow. It impacted the labor market. And so, we are seeing the outcome of that and trying to recover. But, I feel like money that there is requested in the president's budget, the $15.5 million, we would make good use of it and continue to make the progress so that we can return to pre-pandemic pendings and pre-pandemic processing times.
I appreciate that, and thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, for holding this hearing. I'll just finish with this one point. Additional resources without a plan won't solve the problem. Additional resources to fund a plan gives us a shot. But I know for certain, deep cuts to the program will not make it better for the people that we serve, no matter what our circumstances might be back home. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I thank the gentleman